Another juicy weekend of NHL hockey is in the books, meaning another jam-packed Monday episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast is going to have all of the waiver wire targets that you need. It's a Sunday special. We're breaking it down in two parts, starting with the goalies and the blue liners. Let's tap in and get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Might be struggling off the top steel to figure out which day it is, but I know what waiver targets our GMs out there need to dominate this upcoming week, which is why we got a Sunday special coming in hot, taking a look at all of the goalies and blue liners that you should be considering for the upcoming week. Tomorrow's episode, second part, we'll be giving you all the forward waiver targets that you need. Shout out to the everydayers making us your first listen every single day. We see you, we appreciate you, and we hope we can pay back that love with some good targets this week, Steele. We got some Sunday same game parlays ready to roll. Let's talk about it. Goalies, blue liners, who are you targeting for this upcoming week? It's crunch time, baby. So let's get after it. Good start.
You button. Good start. Once again, always
He's
gets
back.
me. Look, this is a big week. Obviously, we're in the playoffs. Playoff push is here. I've got lots of players. It's almost hard to keep track of how many I have on my list for this
Love
upcoming
that.
week. Number one off the top, though, I just got to state this. There's a few teams to stay away from this week.
Sure.
Stay away from the Devils, Rangers, Flyers, and Maple Leafs. Those are the four teams that only play twice in the next 7 days. So obviously, of course, you can still pick up some players on some good opportunities against, advantageous matchups, but only 2 games this upcoming week. Stay away from them at all costs or at all possibilities. I'm going to just throw out my 2 goaltenders because it's really hard for the goaltending right now.
Of course.
Especially with the trend over the last 5-10 years. The goaltending save percentage is at an all-time low. I believe it's at its lowest since 2014 or 2013. The average in the NHL right now is a .901 save percentage in the league. So the trend has gone down for goaltenders. Again, you really need elite goaltenders at this point in the season. There's a few options on the waiver wire. Number one, Cam Talbot of the Detroit Red Wings, rostered at 38% on Yahoo. Detroit has 3 games this week. The red-hot St. Louis Blues, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Florida Panthers. And I know it's still, it's a good long shot for Detroit to make it, but they need every single point they can get. And this is a tough week for them. The goaltending has struggled over the last few weeks. Mrazek's been dealing with injury. Lyon has not been great either. Talbot in his last 2 starts, he's been good. .952 save percentage, 2-1 win against Boston, and a .955 save percentage in the loss against Ottawa the other day. He's put up back-to-back good performances for them. He's going to be the goaltender they're running out, at least for the rest of the regular season. So that's my first goaltender option. Number 2, Casey DeSmith of the Dallas Stars. Probably one of the best tandems in the league right now with Jake Ottinger. We talk about Stolars and Wall. We talk about Hellebuck and Comrie. Casey Smith and Jake Ottinger are in this conversation for best tandem in the league. No doubt. Right now. Good record, great stats, a .919 save percentage, a 2.37 goals against average, 13-6-1 on the season. And obviously, there's still a lot to play for Dallas. It's crazy to think that the Dallas Stars still have an opportunity to clinch number 1 in the Central Division right now. They're only 4 points back of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
And a big reason for that is the goaltending. Jake Ottinger's already played 53 games. I don't see him getting to 60. So Casey DeSmith, I think, is going to get a pretty good look down the stretch here.
Great point.
The Dallas Stars have a really good schedule.
Great schedule
this upcoming week. 4 games on the docket.
Yep.
Seattle Kraken, Nashville Predators, Pittsburgh Penguins, and sorry, I have the Dallas Stars in here for some reason. They're not playing themselves. I
have it right here. They round out the week with the Wild on Sunday.
With the Wild, yeah. Seattle Kraken, Nashville Predators, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Minnesota Wild. So a very good schedule. I believe Casey Smith's going to get he's going to get 1 at least. I think he gets 2, whether it's Nashville or Seattle. But he's going to get 1 between Pittsburgh and Minnesota because it's a back-to-back situation. Very good option for goaltending right there. Those are my 2 candidates for this week.
Absolutely love that you bring up the Dallas Stars. Their schedule has to be taken a look at. If you can get some peripheral love, maybe you got to take a look at the Dadonovs of the world, perhaps up front. But the goaltending, love it, Steele. Calvin Pickard's got to be my goalie. Let me get my guy for the goaltending market out of the way early. And it's because two things. One, obviously, Stuart Skinner has taken a bunch of knocks of late. And that one on Saturday to the head, they're going to be careful with this one. Knobloch's already said he's going to miss about a week. So the Oilers this week, bit of a mixed bag. They've got the Knights on Tuesday, but then the Sharks, Kings, Ducks, then the Sharks again. So if for some reason this even drags on into 2 weeks, and maybe because this is their number one guy and the playoffs are coming close, they play it slow, especially with a head injury. Calvin Pickard has a really good look here. This is value, Steele. Is he going to get you 5 wins? I don't know, but he is going to be the number one guy on a good Oilers team. And the second point why I like it, Leon Draisaitl is back. He was the difference maker on Saturday. Great Battle of Alberta game. 2 Genos for Leon. And that means this team is dangerous once again with one of their big gunslingers back. So I want a piece of Calvin Pickard. I think, though, Steele, at this point, this is the kind of thing with goaltenders in the fantasy game. This is week 24. You're going to have to get a little bit lucky at some point, especially in the goaltending market. But I like that we've thrown out 3 good targets, and we got a whole bunch of guys on the blue line ready to go. Back on mute, pal.
Mute button get me twice in one episode. That's crazy.
That's new.
I won't let it slip once again, but look, Connor McDavid's status has also changed as well. He went from out to day to day. Again, he might miss the next game for the Oilers, but he should be back at some point this next week, especially for all those GMs out there who are struggling without McDavid. Over to defensemen. I've got 5 options to rattle off my first 2, and then we'll get over to break. Number 1, like you always say, you want to get a pieces of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League right now. The hottest team in the National Hockey League is the St. Louis Blues. 9-game win streak.
Wow.
Absolutely insane. 9-1-0 in the last 10. They've tied the Minnesota Wild with 87 points on the season. Minnesota still has a game in hand regardless of that. Cam Fowler is who I'm looking at for this upcoming week.
Sneaky.
17% on Yahoo. 3 games this week for the St. Louis Blues. A pretty good schedule for them as well. They take on the Detroit Red Wings, Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Colorado Avalanche, who they just beat 2-1 the other day. Cam Fowler, he's on the first power play unit. He's got 3 points in his last 3 games. Again, just a pretty sneaky option right now. He's been very good since being traded from Anaheim to St. Louis. He's got 28 points in 44 games, 55 blocks, 59 shots on net. Again, getting some power play time right now. So I think that could be a sneaky option for this upcoming week. Again, I'm looking at some opportunities for players at this point in the season. And for the Nashville Predators, without Roman Josi, who's the guy going to step up? Who's going to take over the first power play unit? Who's going to be eating those heavy minutes? I'm looking at 2 potential players, Brady Shea and Nick Blankenburg.
Brady Shea.
That's the top D pairing for the Nashville Predators right now. And Brady Shea has 2 points in his last 3 games. He's playing some really heavy minutes, over 24, 25, 26 minutes. Again, the peripheral stats could be, it could be a lot better than what we've seen.
Okay.
But I think he's going to be getting the opportunity. It's weird. He's actually not on the first power play unit. That's why I mentioned Blankenburg, because he's the one running and quarterbacking that first power play unit. And for as bad as Nashville has been this season, they're actually ranked 15th or 14th in the National Hockey League on the power play this year. So they're middle of the pack, regardless of how bad they've been. The power play has been decent enough. And those are 2 options for this upcoming week as well.
The St. Louis Blues, Steele, this 9-game heater at this time of the season, you and I haven't spoken about the Blues a lot. Maybe we talk about them this week. To me, I know 9 games is 9 games, and I love Cam Fowler. That's a great ad for this week. Absolutely. I'm just not buying into this St. Louis Blues team still.
I know you're not.
No, sue me. But take in the win streak. Minnesota, Anaheim, Nashville, Vancouver, Chicago, Nashville, Montreal. Those are the teams that they beat. Aside from Colorado in the most recent win, I'm not really reading into too much of that. And again, maybe I'm being a hater, but there's value to be had with a red hot team. That take holds true. I'm just wary about this Blues team. Just wanted to throw that out there. Not wary about the rest of today's episode. I have a number of good blue liner targets. You've heard some names before. You might hear some new ones. We got same game parlays ready to roll. Tap into tomorrow's episode, Monday waiver wire special, forward focused. We'll have a number of forward targets for you. More blue liners coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. The madness, it's here. Elite Eight, baby. Get in on the chance to get the action going like never before with FanDuel, where right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 wager hits. That's $200 in extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories to who's cutting down those nets. We like picking favorites. We get in on the live action, and we're all over that same game parlay. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on college hoops all tournament long.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning is when you can find our episodes. Hammer that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. Flip and I appreciate all that love and support you've been showing us all season long. We couldn't be doing this without all of our listeners out there, so thank you for all of that. Over to you, my friend, defenseman, for this upcoming week. I know you and I have a few names that we both want to talk about. Tony DeAngelo, maybe we should get to him, but who are you looking at for this week?
I just got to get it out of the way now because I've said this name so many times. Jackson LaCombe is a very, very good defenseman. He plays with Radko
The people
Gudas.
are listening to us too now.
Second power play time, and he is red hot steel. I said it a number of weeks ago. I say it again. It's an add and keep. 41 points in 65 games, up to almost 22 minutes of ice time per night. He has 7 points in his last 5 games, or 6 points in his last 5 games. He's chipping in with peripherals, 111 block shots, and somehow, if he is out there in your league, look, up to 74 on Fantrax, 56 Yahoo, 67 ESPN, and they only have 2 games this week. Just remember the name. He even falls into honorable mention. But Tony DeAngelo, let's get to there because I've said enough about what I think about Jackson LaCombe. Tony DeAngelo has come out of nowhere still to be a very valuable defenseman. He picked up huge minutes while Noah Dobson was out. Noah Dobson has returned. He continues to eat almost 24 minutes of. He almost had 27 minutes of ice time the other night. Steele. He has 5 games straight points. He's got 6 points in that time frame. I just see a lot of value with this player. And while the Islanders are continuing in the hunt, definitely some value here on this blue line.
Yeah, you don't see a lot anymore of 2 defensemen on the power play. It's usually 4 defensemen with 4 forwards with 1 defenseman.
Great point.
Or like we see with the Maple Leafs, potentially 5 forwards on that first power play unit. But they've got Noah Dobson and Tony DeAngelo. I have Tony DeAngelo this week as well. 3 games on the schedule for the Islanders, the Lightning, Wild, and Capitals. So a little bit of a tougher schedule for them, but you got to get the dog in the fight at this point in the season as they fight for a playoff spot. Like you said, 5-game point streak for Tony DeAngelo, 8 points in his last 7 games. This is an activated blue liner. He jumps into the play. He's not afraid to skate up the boards and make some plays happen for his teammate, especially on the power play. He's not afraid to jump in and get near to the net. Great option with Tony DeAngelo, 25% on Yahoo right now. Islanders still fighting for their life for the season. I'm going to repeat this guy. I've mentioned him a few times at this point. Darren Radish of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Your boy.
11%. He's my boy at this point.
3
points in his last 4 games, 3 games this week. Very good schedule for the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Islanders, like I just said, the Ottawa Senators, and the Buffalo Sabres. So 3 very good matchups. This also the hottest team in the National Hockey League besides the St. Louis Blues. 3-game win streak, 6-3-1. The Atlantic Division keeps switching with who's in first, who's in second, who's in third. Tampa Bay Lightning have been great. They put an 8 spot up against the Utah Hockey Club over the weekend. I think they keep the ball rolling this week, and Darren Radish has been doing his job great. Like I said, 34 points at this point in the season, career high for him. Career high in assists, career high in even strength assists, plus minus as well. Blocks and hits are a little bit down, but he's shooting the puck a lot more, which is a career high for him. 101 shots. He's playing some heavy minutes of recently. Like I said, his minutes vary from time to time. He could play 20 minutes one night. Next night, he plays 12 minutes. So that's the one downside with Darren Radish, but 3 points in his last 4.
The Tampa Bay Lightning hold that rule of thumb true for me when it comes to special teams as well, Steele. 7th best penalty kill in the NHL, 6th best power play. This is a very good team is what I'm trying to say. And if you're running out of options, why not a very sound all-around blue liner eating pretty good minutes, playing on a very good team? You're going to have to kind of focus in on these situations here. There's not a lot of time left and there's not a lot of options for you. So pick your spots, do your research. We're throwing a lot of names at the board for you guys, so there's options for you to choose from, because depending on your league, you're really going to have to get nitty-gritty this week. Here we go, Steele. One more player before we get to the break. Then I got one more D-man I want to talk about, and then the same game parlay. Sean Durzi is a player that I think has fallen off a lot of people's radar. And I understand that Sergachev's blue line, that Sergachev's number 1 PP spot, but he's playing on the second power play unit. The Utah Hockey Club score a lot of goals. Looks like it's going to be the Mammoth, by the way, Steele, so we can keep calling him that if we like. Sean Durzi, 54% on Fantrax, 13 on Yahoo, 38 on ESPN. Flames, Kings, Jets this week. So actually 3 pretty good teams for Utah, but I actually don't hate the ability there for them to score some goals, aside from obviously Connor Hellebuck. So Sean Durzi fits into the mold of what I was just talking about in terms of you're going to have to get nitty gritty. 21 games, though, since returning from injury, Steele, 7 points. He scored the other night. 3 blocks, 2 hits, time on ice, way up over 25 minutes. Things are starting to trend in the right direction, I think, for Sean Durzi. It's not sexy, but at this time of the season, you're going to have to take some risks. And why not a calculated one with a good player in Sean Durzi?
Speaking of nitty gritty, how about this deep cut? Nitty gritty Matt Grzelcyk of the Pittsburgh Penguins. That is gritty right there. Very deep cut sleeper pick on the blue line. He's having actually a really, really good season in Pittsburgh. You know, as crazy as that sounds, he actually is. Career highs in multiple categories. 3 games this week for the Pittsburgh Penguins, St. Louis Blues, Dallas Stars, and the Chicago Blackhawks. Matt Grzelcyk is on a 4-game point streak, and like I said, career highs in multiple categories right now. Career high in assists, points, shots on net. Not shots on net, blocks as well. So he's having a really good season at 31. He's actually projected as of right now on that first power play unit. I don't know how true that is. Yeah. It is on Daily Faceoff saying that Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson are on the second power play unit. So Grzelcyk's getting a good look right now, and he is getting a lot more ice time recently, 22, 23 minutes average over his last 5 games. He's averaged 20 on the season so far. So he's getting a lot more looks in Pittsburgh down the stretch right now. And as bad as they are, there's still some value on Pittsburgh. Matt Grzelcyk is a very, very, very deep cut, but I think he provides a ton of value on the back end for what he's done offensively this season. It's a career year for him.
Absolutely. You got to have to get some peripheral coverage, and that's exactly the kind of player that I'm going to talk about right after the break. He's not going to jump off the page for you, but you almost want it. These are like security blankets, Steele. They're not going to burn you in the plus-minus category, hopefully. Definitely my guy, but they are going to chip in, and if they do, that could be the difference and take you over the top. I absolutely am already fired up for actual NHL playoffs to go because I'm tired of speculating. I want to see what these teams are made of. Now that our fantasy seasons are winding down, we can almost shift focus a little bit for the next couple of weeks. You and I will break it down round by round, series by series.
Yes, sir.
X factors, under the radar players. If you're in playoff pools, if you're looking ahead to next season, Steele and I'll have you covered every single week until that cup gets lifted, Steele. Let's talk about bets, and I got one more player to go after the break.
Flip and I will take you above and beyond, just like this next ad and sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Trade Coffee. If you're like Flip and I, your mornings have to start with a good cup of Joe. But I got tired of settling for grocery store brands that just weren't cutting it. That's why we turned to Trade. And let me tell you, the coffee is absolutely next level. Trade is the #1 specialty coffee marketplace in the U.S., bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Their experts have taste tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee or know exactly what you like, they'll handpick the perfect match for you. The subscription makes it so easy. No more last-minute grocery store runs or settling for whatever's on the top shelf. And if you don't love your first bag, no worries. Trade will replace it for free until they get it just right. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/lockedonnhl for 40% off your first order. Drinktrade.com/lockedonnhl. You have to try Trade. And once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Thank you for tuning into the Sunday special that we're dropping waiver wire targets, goalies and defensemen on this episode, forwards on Monday's episode. Make sure you're staying tuned in for that. Flip, we're going to get to big time bets. I know you got one last player you want to talk about, and then we'll get to our same game parlay where I think you and I are going to like our picks.
I absolutely can't wait. Great games on Sunday night. I believe there's 8 sprinkled across the afternoon and into the evening still. I just wanted to throw it. It was so perfectly that it worked out the end of that segment into players that, deeper cuts, guys that don't jump off the page, but that can really provide some peripheral under the radar type value. A player that I know I've never spoken about on this show, but the more reading I do about him, the more tape that I watch of this player. Dylan Sandberg is a really good defenseman, and you start to pay attention to these parts of the Winnipeg Jets, and maybe they are for real because they're a very difficult team to play against, and a reason, big 6'4" Dylan Sandberg back there, 20 points this season, 19, 22 penalty minutes, good shot. He's got 2 game-winning goals. He had 4 blocks the other night. He's up to 100 on the season. He chips in with the PIMs. He chips in with the block shots. It's not sexy steal, but this is a really good defenseman who can play both ways. And I know 19 points isn't like, oh my goodness, it's jumping off the page. It's 19 points in 51 games, and he's a plus 31, and he's eating plus 20 minutes a night on the best team in the NHL, arguably. So once again, I'm willing to take a shot on all of those things that are putting together not exactly a super sexy ad, but if you're at that point in the season, it's almost better to not get burned. You're just getting something. You don't want zeros up there, and I think Dylan Sandberg really fits that mold on a really good blue line in Winnipeg.
That's a very good angle right there. Obviously with this Winnipeg Jets team, the blue line was the question mark that I know you had at the beginning of the season. Can Josh Morrissey replicate what he did a year ago? Can Neil Pionk take that extra level, step extra gear in his game as well, like we've seen him do in the past? They've done that. Winnipeg Jets, top team in the West, top team in the NHL right now. They got to hold off the Dallas Stars, though, because like I said, 4 points back of the top spot in the Central Division. Big time bets. Lots of good games on for Sunday night. Yes. You got a same game parlay.
Yes.
I got a same game parlay.
Boom.
Both, I believe, from this Toronto Maple Leafs Anaheim Ducks matchup.
Oh, yeah.
I'm loving my picks. I'm excited to hear what you have to say because maybe we have the same game parlay. So let's hear it. What are you looking at from this game?
Just very quickly, I think as much as that's only one game for the Leafs, they've been struggling on the road. We know they've been playing fairly mediocre hockey, and the LA Kings have only dropped before last night or Saturday night, had only dropped 3 games in regulation at home, and they're red hot. That's a big win for the Leafs. Poppy scores. Johnny looks sensational once again. Your leaders go. This could be a big turning point game. The Anaheim Ducks deserve some credit for playing really good hockey in the second half, especially of late for the most part. So this isn't going to be a cakewalk, but what I'm trying to spit out and lay down for you here, Steele, is I think this is a really good spot for the Leafs. And I know you're going to have to lay some juice, but hit me with them on the money line, and I know you're going to like my 2-player props. Somebody throw some serious respect on John Tavares' name. They took the C from this man, and a lot of players in professional sports would have cried about it, left town, and probably saw a regression. This man is playing spirited hockey. He has 8 goals in his last 5 games. He's shooting the puck. He's looking confident. Hit me with Johnny T anytime point, along with my lock of the night. When Poppy goes, this team goes, and I say he goes on a heater. We haven't seen a proper one from him all year. I get the injuries. I don't care. Poppy, anytime goal, back-to-back games with a goal. I want to see another one. I want to see a couple steal because that's how good he is. Let's finish this season strong for the Leafs, and instead of do what they usually do, back in, go in with a whimper and start slow. Let's blow the doors off them and take on whoever's in the first round. I just really don't want the Panthers.
I mean, that Atlanta division's tough no matter who you're playing, but I'm loving the same game parlay, loving the picks here. I'm not copping out, though, with JT. John Tavares, anytime goal at plus 175. This guy's playing like a man possessed right now. 6-game point streak, 13 points in that time, and 8 of them are goals right now. He is undeniable. Every time the puck's been on his stick over the last week and a half, he's putting it in the back of the net. Tavares, anytime goal at plus 175. I'm taking that in this game against the Anaheim Ducks.
Love it.
What about his line mate, William Nylander, also running it? That line with him, Nylander, Bobby McMahon, it's been incredible. We're absolutely loving it out there. My second pick, Nylander, 2+ points at plus 230 right now. Dang. I love the odd. I love the same game parlay. I'm also with you. Leafs on the money line, minus 170 against the Anaheim Ducks. Same game parlay, those 3 picks. Even the Matthews anytime goal is, well, I believe you. Anytime goal or anytime assist? What did you have?
I got anytime goal, big time.
Anytime goal, parlay that together. We're going heavy on the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight in Anaheim. Big win on Saturday against the LA Kings. They don't lose much at home. The Leafs get the job done. A big 2 points for them on this road trip right now. Those are the picks. Those are the lock of the night. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. For your second listen, you got to go check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the season never ends. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From your boys here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod, Flip Livingstone and Steel Roden, we wish you good luck with your bets tonight. We wish you good luck with those weekly matchups. If you're still in the playoffs, push for the championship is right now, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.